Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at advanced string methods and functions. This is when we're going to start getting a little weird with some of the different stuff within a string. And a lot of these things are really when you get a little more technical, you want to like split it into little tiny pieces and you want to join it and do all sorts of fun things with that. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a lyric here. Let's see, mix master mic on the scratch routine. That's a pretty good lyric right there. So this one works pretty well. We've got ourselves a bunch of different elements in our string. This would be very expensive memory-wise because there's so much stuff in this string, but hey, it's going to work perfectly fine for us here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and play with this a little bit. Let's say we want to replace something in a string. Now there's a lot of different ways we can use replace. So let's say a new string, a new lyric, equals lyric dot replace, and I'm going to say the letter M with the letter Z. I don't know why, we're having some fun here. Print new lyric. Let's see what happens. So you'll see here we got mix Zyke on the scratch routine. Pretty cool. We can see that all of those letters were spun around. Now, one of the things that's annoying you, of course, is the fact that the capital M is not the M. If we wanted to fix that, we'd have to lowercase it, and then we have to come in here. We have to say new lyric dot lower, and it just gets so messy. Now, the replace function does other things that makes it a lot easier for us as well. We can replace entire words, replace letters. Let's replace an entire word. So I'll do new lyric again, and I'll say lyric.replace. And this time, whoa, hopefully we spell it correctly. Place. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Mike, and I'm going to replace it with Josh. Replace whole words. So now if I come down here and I print my new lyric again, you'll notice this time, instead of mix master Mike, I've got mix master Zyke. I've got mix master Josh on the scratch routine team. And you can see that that works really well. And again, that's an excellent use of the replacement command. The other thing we can do, of course, is we can dig into lyrics and try to identify, see what I mean? We can dig into strings and identify where things actually exist inside of it. So for example, let's say we wanted to determine where something exists. The first time we see something, we'll pick on the letter, we'll use the letter A this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say first occurrence, first occur, and we'll keep it nice and simple. I'll do lyric dot find, and then see what I want to find. In my case, I want to find the letter A. So if I print first occur here, what you will notice is the fact that it says 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see this is going to be the item 5 inside of our lovely little string right here, and that will be our first occurrence as well. Now, the interesting thing here, one that's going to be kind of fun, is people say, wait a minute, isn't there something just like this, something called index? Don't we have that? Yeah, we do. So let's go ahead and do something silly here. Let's see, what letter do we not have? I don't think we have a D. What you'll notice is if it can't find something, it'll put it as a -1. Now, hotshots will say, oh, I could just use index. It's just like an array, right? Is that, can't do that. The important thing you have to notice is if we use index here and it doesn't exist, Python explodes. However, if we use find and run that, I run that one again, it'll simply tell us that it doesn't exist with a -1. So just be kind of mindful of those two different commands. Now let's have some more fun with this. We're just getting warmed up here, Next thing, of course, we have is we can determine how often something occurs inside of a string. Get amount of times the letter S, actually we know it's 1, the letter, let's see here, I shows up in the lyric. So watch this. We can call this number i's. This is really, number is, why not, equals lyric dot, count. And now we simply put what we want to do. We can do I, for example. So now if I print number is, because that makes sense, I'll run that one, you will see 3, because we have a total of 3 i's inside of our string, which is actually pretty darn useful. Now we're just getting warmed up here. Determine if lyric starts with something. So this is another cool command we can do. Starts with, now you gotta be careful here because there's a command called start. Lyric dot starts with mix. Now, if you remember, mix is correct. So if I print starts with, what it should do is should tell us true because of the fact that our lyric starts with mix. Now, the cool thing, we can also determine if a string ends with something. So for example, I could say ends with equals lyric dot exactly what you expect. Let's see here, and on the scratch routine, teen. I'll type in teen here just to confuse everybody. Let's print ends with and watch what happens this time. True. Now your brain is going, no, it isn't. Yeah, it is. If you take a look, it ends with teen, even though on our particular case is part of the word routine. Now, if of course I want to be silly and did capital T here, you'll observe it says false because it does not end in tine. It ends in teen, which is a nice little problem that some people run into. So just be kind of cautious whenever you're dealing with this one because people forget that, oh, it needs to do one of these. Now, hotshots, of course, will say, can't you do this? Something silly like that. Yeah, you can, but then you have to do an equals. Don't do that. It's much easier to use ends with. It's a much simpler command for that particular purpose. Like I said, it's all in kind of what you want to do. Now, sometimes you want to put two different things together. For example, if I want to have a list and I want to go ahead and put them together as a string. Now, one of the interesting things is we can build strings inside of Python with the join command. So let's say I have a list of, we'll do fruits today. Fruits helps if you do this. Let's see here. What shall we use? We'll do blueberry because, why not? We'll do cherry and I don't know, we'll do banana. Why not? Now, let's say we want to add something to this. We're going to make a big string here. Well, we can use the join command for this. Now, if I were just to come over here and print fruits like this, F-R-U-I-T-S, whoa, helps if you spell it correctly, and run that, you will see that we get ourselves a list. But I really want this to be a string for some reason, because science. So one of the things I can do here is I can create something, and then I can join the elements of it. So for example, if I came in here and did one of these, you would notice that I'm basically taking this guy and joining all the different elements of fruits one at a time. So now I've actually generated a string. So if I wanted to, I could say fruit string equals, and I could simply say what I want to join it with. I'll do comma space dot join, and this will be the different elements of my list. Fruits. So now if I print fruit string, you will notice it took this ugly list and made it into a nice clean list that I can actually see exactly. And that's one of the great features of join is that you get a string out of a list, which makes your life a little bit simpler depending on what you want to do. Now, there's something else you can do inside of a string that's really, really fun, and that is splitting a string into different parts. So for example, let's say my string, we'll keep it simple again today, is we're going to do 64, 32, 16. And what I want to do is I want to split this string into a list of these three numbers. That would be the split command. So I could say my numList equals my string dot split. And then when I do this, I simply say what I want to split it by. In this case, I'm splitting by commas. So now if I were to print my numList, go ahead and run this one real quick, you'll observe that it made a list of strings, by the way. Notice they're strings inside of this from my piece, splitting them by the commas. You'll also observe that we deleted the comma in the process because we don't need that. Now, one really cool thing with the split everybody forgets is you can tell it how many times to split it. So if I were to run this again, you can see here you get something nice and ugly because it only split the first one and then it stopped splitting. If we leave this parameter out, it will split it all the way down our string here to basically snap it into individual pieces, which makes it much, much, much easier to parse things. And what people will do if they want to get goofy is they'll come in here and basically parse the parse to parse the parse and to kind of snap it into much, much smaller pieces. The last thing we're going to take a look at today with strings is going to be using the format command. Now, in my opinion, it is much, much better to simply use an F string. It's a lot cleaner, but if you're kind of stuck or you're a little old school, maybe using an older version of Python, you don't have F strings, the format command is going to do that for you. And basically, it allows you to replace squiggly brackets inside of a string with something else. Let's show you what I mean. So let's go ahead and create two items here. We'll go old school. Customer name equals, we'll pick on Josh again, because why not? Customer ID equals blah. That looks pretty good there. Let's say we want to go ahead and put this into a nice little string and print this on the screen. Now, if you've been following along so far, you immediately run over to a formatted string literal, and you'd be correct. But let's say we don't want to do that. We want to go old school. Customer formatted. I'm just going to call this one. The customer's name is, and their ID is, bam. So now we need to find out a way to convert these guys into customer name and customer ID. That's where the .format command comes in. All we're simply going to do is we're simply going to type in what we wanted where. So the first thing we wanted was customer name, and the second thing we wanted was customer ID. Now, if I were to print my customer formatted here, I'll come down here, customer formatted. Go ahead and run that one real quick. You will see the fact that it says the customer's name is Josh and their ID is 2895. You can already see that the F string makes this a little bit cleaner, but sometimes when things get really messy, it's just easier to use that old school formatted commands. So as you can see, strings are very powerful. They give you a lot of really cool things that you can do with them. One thing we did not mention is the ability to slice strings, but they're basically going to be the exact same thing as we saw back when we did lists. Enjoy.